Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we dig into the nitty-gritty of corporate filings and uncover the hidden stories. Today we're looking at Proem Acquisition Corp. And let's just say their filing is less about numbers and more about setting the stage for what is next. This is a report that companies file when something big happens, and for Proem Acquisition Corp, that big thing was their initial public offering, or IPO. Think of it as the moment a private company sells shares to the public for the very first time. This filing tells us all about that crucial event. So who is Proem Acquisition Corp? Well, they are what is called a Special Purpose Acquisition Company, or SPAC. Basically, they exist with the sole purpose of raising money through an IPO to acquire or merge with an existing private company. They don't actually have any operations of their own. They are a shell company designed to facilitate an acquisition. The IPO itself happened on the 13th of February 2026. They sold 13 million units, and each unit was a package deal containing one ordinary share of the company and half of one redeemable warrant. The offering price was $10 per unit, raking in a cool $130 million gross proceeds. They also entered into several key agreements, like the underwriting agreement with Clear Street LLC, which is essentially the deal with the investment banks that help them sell the shares to the public. There is also a warrant agreement with Continental Stock Transfer and Trust Company, which outlines the specifics of those warrants we just mentioned. Remember, a warrant gives the holder the right to buy shares at a certain price, acting like a long-term option. Then there is a letter agreement involving the company, the sponsor, and its officers and directors. This usually outlines terms of employment and responsibilities. It is important because it defines the roles of the people running the show. The Investment Management Trust Agreement is super important for SPACs. It details how the money raised from the IPO, which is $130 million in this case, is held in a trust account. This money is meant to be used for the eventual acquisition. The agreement specifies that the funds will only be released upon completing the company's initial business combination, or if the company fails to find a target within a certain time frame, at which point the money would be returned to shareholders. The registration rights agreement gives certain shareholders, like the sponsor, the right to have their shares registered with the SEC, meaning they can be sold in the public market. There is also a private placement units purchase agreement. This document talks about the company selling additional units called private units directly to the sponsor. In this case, they sold 292,500 private units for $2.9 million. These are identical to the public units, but with some restrictions like not being able to sell them until the company completes its initial business combination. An administrative services agreement with the sponsor is also listed. This probably covers how the sponsor will help manage the company's operations during this SPAC phase. And finally, indemnity agreements with its officers and directors. This is standard practice, essentially protecting these individuals from personal liability related to their roles in the company. Now, let's talk about where all that money is going. As of the 13th of February 2026, a massive $130 million from the IPO and the private placement was parked in a trust account. This is the war chest for their future acquisition. The rules are pretty strict. This money is untouchable for the company's general operations. It is either used to buy another business or, if no deal is struck within 24 months, it gets returned to the public shareholders. This is a core feature of SPACs, offering a degree of investor protection by ensuring the capital raised is used for its intended purpose. This section clarifies the private placement deals. We already touched on the $2.9 million private placement with the sponsor. It also mentions the company issued 97,500 ordinary shares to Clear Street, the underwriter, as what they call representative shares. These shares are also restricted and cannot be sold until the acquisition is complete. Clear Street also agreed to waive certain rights like redemption rights, which is a concession for getting those shares. Both of these private sales were done under an exemption from SEC registration because they weren't considered public offerings. Big changes here in leadership. On the 11th of February 2026, in connection with the IPO, 4 new people joined the board of directors: John Wu, David Eckstein, Aminath Tombre, and Andrei Kazakov. All of them are considered independent directors, which is good for governance. John Wu is chairing the Compensation Committee, and David Eckstein is heading up the Audit Committee. These are critical roles for overseeing financial reporting and executive pay. This part is about the company's foundational documents. On the 11th of February, they updated their governing papers, specifically adopting an amended and restated memorandum and articles of association. This is basically the company's rulebook, and it was updated to reflect the changes brought about by becoming a publicly traded entity. Under other events, we see announcements about press releases. One on the 11th of February announced the IPO pricing, and another on the 13th of February announced the closing of the IPO. These are standard public relations steps to inform the market. This final section is like an appendix listing all the documents filed with this report as exhibits. It includes agreements like the underwriting agreement, warrant agreement, trust agreement, and all those indemnity agreements we mentioned. It also lists the press releases. Essentially, it is a catalogue of all the supporting documents that make up this filing. So, what is the story here? Proem Accession Corp has successfully completed its IPO and is now on the hunt for a company to acquire. The key takeaway is that the $130 million raised is in a trust, protected, and earmarked for a future merger. The leadership team is in place and the legal framework is set up. The future direction of this company hinges entirely on its ability to find and successfully merge with a suitable target business within the next 24 months. The risks for shareholders are tied to the success of that acquisition. If a good deal isn't found, the money goes back to them. It's a classic SPAC play, all about future potential rather than current operations. Alright? That is our breakdown of Proem Accession Corp's latest filing. What is your take on this SPAC strategy and its potential for success? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description for more discussion and to connect with other financial enthusiasts. Thanks for watching, see you next time.